stand now headed into the Big Ten season?
Yeah, I like the team a lot.
Hey there, hope you're having a great Monday, and welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. I'm Dennis Fithian, and we are ready to kick this one off on this Monday, and it's great to be here with you. We are live weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan, talking about the latest in Michigan sports. For some reason, I have an echo, and that has never happened before. Let's see why that would be. Echo. Oh, must be coming through my computer. Let me stop that out really quick, because I should be able to stop that from happening. How about I just hit mute? That usually does it. Check, check, check. All right, good. First time for everything. So let's not fool around and let's jump right into it, unless you want to hear me talk about behind the scenes and why that actually happened. And why would you? I don't think you would. Let's, without further ado, tell you what we're talking about. We'll have likes and dislikes from this game this past Saturday to finish up the non-conference season. Also, we will look with the injury to Cade McNamara. We'll talk about who's Michigan's backup quarterback now. And we'll start with takeaways from U of M's win over UConn on Saturday. And, you know, the biggest thing for me and the biggest takeaway is that, you know, the non-conference is over. Michigan had to deal with the criticism of having the softest schedule in the country. That is now in the rearview mirror. And now, like, if that was, you found it distasteful, you agreed, whatever it was, you know, now the games, that is behind them. However you look at it, I thought Michigan used, they won the games, and then they used those games. You saw a lot of the backups, and they used those first two games for a quarterback competition in which McCarthy emerged. And depending on how you feel about McCarthy, you could say it was a successful non-conference season. And the games count. I was going to call it an exhibition, but, you know, for me, that's it. You're going to have a similar type narrative next year when Michigan doesn't play any Power 5 teams. And guess what? If they do really well this year, and the Michigan fans are going to be like, okay, kind of enjoyed last year, next year, talking about this year, if it goes that way. And so what, you know, and the more you look at it, like the people like arguing about schedules, like arguing about how a crowd reacts to quarterbacks and coaches. And so it is part of it. But now you get into the Big Ten season, and you started out with Maryland coming up this Saturday, and then followed by a trip to Iowa City to usher in the new month in October 1st. And it looks like, at last check, right before Josh Henschke, the publisher of the Maize and Blue Review, revealed that it looked like it was going to be a noon kick against the Hawkeyes. And people like to hear that. If you're a Michigan fan, you like to hear that. You don't want a night game. I think Michigan was going to win that game, whether it was at noon or whether it was at 6 o'clock in the morning, but you'd rather stay away from a night game in Iowa City. And Henschke was pointing to the Iowa website where they had a countdown clock, and it expired noon on October 1st. So let's see if that is how it goes or not. But that's the latest when it comes down to a potential matchup with Iowa. This Saturday's game is at noon against Maryland. And then it looks like the following, if you're following along, the following Saturday against Iowa is also a game at noon. All right. If you did not know, this particular podcast, like I told you, we are live weekdays at 1 o'clock. We've got to have a host of other podcasts for your entertainment and information. The Maize and Blue Review Roundtable, that was out this morning. The guys all get together and talk about what they saw over the weekend and look ahead, kind of like I am doing here. You have a live film review. You got recruiting coverage coming your way on Thursday. You got Insider Intel with Henschke and Justice that comes out on Thursdays. And then you have the Gambling and Odds and Picks podcast, which I'm part of, Sharpening the Edge on Friday. And then after every Michigan football and basketball game. If you weren't aware, maybe this is the first time you're watching or listening to this, I go live after the games, 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it is, to get seated and get ready. And that will be taking place this Saturday. You will also know that if you're watching, that we take your feedback and we put it up on the screen and we talk about what you're interested in, your angle when it comes down to Michigan football. Antoine is saying that people were complaining about JJ not throwing up the field, but he was impressed with the fact that it didn't force anything. It shows maturity. Yeah, when you have these games, like one thing that we always know, regardless of who the opponent is, what the stake is, if it's a football game and you're watching and you're interested, there's going to be complaining, or there's going to be, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Now, even though Michigan took these pylons and smashed them to a million pieces, there were still a lot of people wondering about the offensive line, wondering about the defensive line, wondering about, not throwing to this particular player. Why aren't they throwing the ball down the field? And, all of them. I was saying that people are even wrong. You make your observation and then you say, well, does that have any merit? Does that have any weight? Or other people agree? And there were some people. There has not been in any of these three games, whether it was McCarthy or Cade McNamara, either quarterback throwing the ball way down the field, pushing the ball down the field and throwing bombs. And it could be a product of how these defenses are playing the quarterbacks. It could be Michigan. If you look back to Saturday, I just rewatched the second, third, and fourth quarter this morning. When you're getting the great field position that Michigan had, there really wasn't, sure, once you get up 31-0, could they have said, let's just air it out and throw a 50-yard bomb? Yeah, they could do that. And I'll have in some of my likes and dislikes some of the things that people are talking about. But what Antoine was saying there, that he liked the maturity, I saw a little bit of maturity from number 9 as well. And I'll get to that in the likes and dislikes that are coming up. Speaking of that, over the weekend, I just put a list down of things I like about the game and then things that I don't. The first thing that I will get to that I did like was Roman Wilson, Michigan's wide receiver. They put him in the slot. He's the fastest guy in offense. According to Harbaugh, he runs right with the fastest guy in the whole team. That is DJ Turner. And we have seen it in all these games. Roman Wilson, throw him the ball and just watch him go. And incredible speed. I think about the Dolphins yesterday with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill and that great comeback that they had. Great speed in the major sports. It's I was going to say there's no substitute, but having the ability to fly and take the top off the defense or throw the ball out with a quick hitter, you just need. If there's one thing that I saw today by watching the film, is that no, Michigan wasn't really throwing the ball way down the field, but throwing it laterally and having a guy already, you say speed and space, Josh Gaddis liked it, get a guy the ball with, some room to operate and get going. You saw a little bit of that. And you see that with Roman Wilson, give him the ball in space. It sounds like a great idea all the time, but Michigan being able to do that on the quick hitters, I like that from Roman Wilson. There was, getting back to, some people looking at the offensive line and saying, I don't know if the line was blocking exactly like they really liked, or the pass protection. One of the issues without having Hassan Haskins this year was going to be who's going to be Michigan's goal line back, who's going to be Michigan's short yardage back. And what we saw in the first two games, I thought that Donovan Edwards must have put his hand up when they said, what are we going to do when it comes down to running the ball between the tackles? Because the majority of Donovan Edwards' touches in those first two games, he missed Saturday's game, nursing I think an ankle injury. A good chance that he could come back here on Saturday against Maryland. But the point is that most of his touches, you saw it in the short yardage game, or you saw it, the carries up the middle between the tackles. And Saturday, Blake Corum, whatever you want to say about the blocking of the offensive line, the first touchdown, I think it was a 20-yarder, but then a bunch of short yardage situations where Corum getting into the end zone. Those are not small things, to me. Having a nose for the end zone, finding pay dirt, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, getting a first down. But in this case, getting into the end zone, I'd like that from Blake Corum, a guy that I think is Michigan's MVP, at least the guy that I picked to be Michigan's MVP, and you can see why. He's a fabulous runner. Seems like a great kid too. That helps. That doesn't hurt. Seems like he's a great kid, and he seems like he's a really good football player. So that combination I like. AJ Henning, we talked about Henning a lot, number 3 in the offseason, about, hey, Michigan could use him in a Deebo Samuel package. Michigan, has him back there on punt returns. Michigan loves to give him the ball on end arounds. Henning, if you noticed in the first half, that Michigan lined AJ Henning up in the backfield like Deebo Samuel, and they gave him the ball. And I like that. I think that you're going to see more of that in the conference season with AJ Henning in the backfield, getting him the ball. And why not? Guy has scored on a kick return. He scored now on a punt return. He gets the ball in the end arounds. He had the 74-yard touchdown last year in the opener on an end around. And you want to find a way, if we're divvying up targets or touches, you want to find a way to get AJ Henning the ball a few times. I think that we can all agree with that. Another like that I have put down is Mike Sanders. In the offseason, I had mentioned how I don't like guys playing both sides of the ball. And especially Michigan had a bunch of different guys on both sides of the ball. They had the Khalil Mullings. They had they're talked about, hey, the Mike Sanders still is playing wide receiver, and then they had a couple more guys like, hey, he wants to do this. He's a wide receiver. He's a defensive back. Amarian Walker's playing defensive back, and there's just not many players in college football history that have been really effective as two-way players. It's it's less than 1%. So I didn't really like that Michigan had a bunch of different guys like that. But we haven't seen, I don't know, is Sanders still even played offense? I don't know. I don't remember seeing him out there. But Agent Zero, as a defensive player, he's pretty good. He hangs around that line of scrimmage. He's a good tackler. He looks like he's a pretty good cover guy. Pretty important when you're lining up there against the slot guys. He can come in there on the blitz and get to the quarterback and pressure him. And what else do you want from a slot corner? A cover, blitzer, and tackler. I really like what I see from Mike Sanders still. So that is something that I put down on the like page as well. I got JJ McCarthy in little small letters if you're looking and watching on YouTube or whatever on the likes. And that's because I put an entire page for McCarthy up there and some of the things that I like. You may have saw during the game that the revelation that McCarthy utilizes meditation. And I'm not going to sit over here and tell you that, every day, I'm sitting over here in 13 minutes and meditating. But I will tell you that I do have an app that is a meditation app. And when I use it, man, I wish that I meditated every day. Last year, it might have been the year before, I said 50 days straight, I'm going to do 10 minutes of meditation. Regardless, I'm just going to do it. And I never made it to the 50 days, but I made it like 40 days. And I found it like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't really, it's kind of a challenge. I don't really like sitting still. All the things that you might say if you try meditation. But I could feel the effects after I was done with those 40 days. Like my thinking, I was able to go from one thing to the other faster. And I could tell that it helped that way. Sometimes, like when things are reoccurring in your mind, like I'll hear a song lyric and it just keeps being played over and over in my head. It's a lot easier if you practice meditation to be like, I know how to clear that right out of my mind. And again, I would say if you meditate and you feel like you're somebody that's like 75% into the meditation game, that like that's how much you're into it. I would say I'm like 5 to 10% in, but I know the benefits and I like people that talk about it. Hey, one, it's free unless you're on an app like me that I have to pay, but I love it. And so with McCarthy as a young guy meditating, it's just another to me like one of these layers. Like this guy is he's something special. And if I never saw him play quarterback and I knew that he meditated, I'd just be like, that's a good thing for a football player. Help clear your mind and put you in the zone and all these things that you need to do to go through your progressions and everything that you have to do to play quarterback. Sounds like a really good idea, but yet I've watched him play quarterback and he looks like something special. So this is something that when I heard him, like, not a surprise. Like, you hear, here's a real successful athlete or successful person using meditation. And there he is with McCarthy. I'd like that. He took a sack. McCarthy did in the second quarter. It was on a third down. Michigan was up 24-0. And he was rolling out to the right and he was waiting and he was waiting and he's waiting. And he took the sack. Now, he could have thrown the ball forward and got rid of it and saved himself 2 yards. He could have done like he did in last year's opener and, like whip the ball across the field to some receiver and tried to make some, amazing play. Like we know that with the arm talent that he's got that in there, that he has that ability, off schedule and all these things. But I think that's important for JJ McCarthy to take a sack. And I'm watching Aaron Rodgers last night against the Bears in the first half. He's taking sacks. I mean, he's not just throwing. Aaron Rodgers is very good at taking care of the football. And, you do get sacked occasionally when you're a quarterback and you hang out of the ball there. And, you don't like your quarterback taking hits, but it's part of the position. You do take hits. And I thought that was, it felt to me like a progression in McCarthy's just evolution as a quarterback, being able to do that. And we know that he can do the other things. We didn't know that he could take and wait to the next series or wait to the next down. And I thought that was important. Now, my favorite play from JJ McCarthy this past Saturday is when Michigan was up 31-0. It was after the AJ Henning punt return. And when Michigan got the ball back, they went to Ronnie Bell for a big gainer. And then they had JJ throwing to Luke Schoonmaker and ended up making it 38-0. And I want to play that particular play for you. The favorite one. I'm not going to have the audio here because it had me echoing last time to start everything out. Ooh, do I just get? Oh, there it is. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's make it a lot bigger. All right, this is it. This is, like I said, 31-0. This is 1st and 10. Ronnie Bell just had a big gainer, and in JJ, he just he rolls out to the right here and finds Schoonmaker. It is a little bit against the grain, but it is it's just a fabulous throw. Now here he is. He's got somebody chasing him, jumps up a little bit against the grain, finds Schoonmaker. Could have been a touchdown there, but that was my favorite throw of the game right there. McCarthy getting it down. As you might have guessed, you would see Blake Corum, who he faked to there, takes it in for one of his 5 touchdowns. A play later, and we get another look at it here. Here he is, throwing it down there, right on the money to Schoonmaker. He's been accurate. JJ McCarthy has, and right there, well, that was pretty good. And my favorite play of the game, like I said, when it came down to it. Okay, let's take some feedback from the people. If you've got a question, you had a point, you can go ahead and put it in there. I got dislikes coming up. The captain says upon further thought, he still thinks the O-line is going to hold us back to 9-3, and leaving the corners on islands is going to burn us. If we score 28 on Iowa and hold Maryland below 20, I'll reconsider. Well, Captain, I am not as concerned as others about the offensive line, which I am going to get to straight ahead. I think leaving the corners out on islands against UConn or Hawaii or against Colorado State is good practice for what they are going to be coming up against Tunga Vailoa, who is a gunslinger, and mixing up the coverages or being able to corner. The best skill that you can have is being able to go out there and guard somebody one-on-one and be able to man up to somebody in some press coverage, or just, being able to single out and being able to run with somebody. So I think that's I think that's a good thing. And what I have seen from Sanders still, he's pretty good at it. Will Johnson, according to the folks from Pro Football Focus, has been the best in man coverage, second best in the country for the time he's out there. I know DJ Turner is pretty good as a cover corner. There's three guys, and I think Jamon Green's pretty good. So I don't think that I like Michigan's corners. And I think that the reason that you leave him out on an island in the first three games is to get him some reps for what's coming up. And yeah, I mean, look, 9-3, it could easily happen. Penn State looks pretty good. Rivalry games, Ohio State, Michigan State, it can happen. But I don't think so. I think Michigan is going to. I think there's every reason to be more optimistic than that. Screaming about, I think they're going 11-1. You don't need me to do that. Do I think Michigan is going to run cover zero on everybody? No, I don't. And I think that's what Antoine is saying here as well. And people are jumping on the captain a little bit, for him being pessimistic. So, yeah, and that's okay. And I will get, being a little bit of the captain here, let me get to some of my dislikes for the game. And it's good to see Brano's got a different picture up there, but he's throwing some block M's. What's up, Brano? And Adrian is tired of hearing about the out of conference schedule. He's glad it's over. I'm glad it's over too. I'm not. There's no reason for me to revisit what everybody's saying. And here's the thing about it: you can be a Michigan fan, and you can not like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a lot of Michigan fans that everything that Michigan does, they got to be like, oh, yeah, so what you're saying, oh, you national media or oh, you Spartans or whatever. Like, it's okay if you didn't like the Michigan's non-conference slate. You could still be a big as Michigan fan as everybody. You don't have to rubber stamp everything that they're doing. Come on. Like, I saw a little bit of that taking place. That's not what I wanted. Let's get to those dislikes, and I'm going to put those up on the screen. I got a few. Trente Jones is Michigan's right tackle, and he gave up. He got beat. The defensive end came around, and McNamara took a shot. Now, the next play, McNamara, there was a blitzer that came right up, and McNamara stood in there, delivered the football. It was a nice pass. That was the play they ended up getting hurt on. Two guys kind of put him in the Malachi crunch, and, he went down and ended up getting injured there. And Jones, that was a bad rep for Trente Jones, letting that defensive end get around him and get into the quarterback. I do think, however, that people are getting on Trente Jones a little bit unnecessarily, because he gave up that one sack. It's going to happen once in a while. And okay, it was UConn, so maybe he deserves to be, hung out to dry here. I think people go back to the Hawaii game where Cade McNamara got slammed to the ground and the defensive end came around. And I thought that as well, but there's sometimes, and you really have to, Jim Scarcelli replayed, and you'll find this with offensive linemen, in particular tackles. Sometimes it looks like they're getting beat, but it's up to the quarterback to step up into the pocket. And Scar was saying that he thought in that Maryland game, that was not on Jones. It was more on McNamara. And I don't know. I'm not trying to give Trente Jones a free pass. I'm not trying to give Michigan's offensive line a free pass. I'm just giving you my opinion. And I did not like that particular rep from Jones, but I have found, people online, I think unnecessarily like making it like put the right tackle job up in the air. And the one thing I think you have to remember about Michigan's offensive line right now is that Ryan Hayes, their starting left tackle, he missed the first game. Remember, he was out injured, and then Carson Barnhart came in for Jones. He's a great player to have. He started some games. He started inside. He started outside. And this particular year, you call him a real nice swing tackle. He can play right. He can play left. And we saw that from Barnhart. But then he got hurt. And then you had Keegan, kicking out the tackle. And then you brought, what's his face for Michigan? Gio El Hadi in, who played some guard. The point here, if you're down on the Michigan offensive line from what you've seen in the first 3 games, because of what? The running game looks pretty good to me. And you can say, well, what about the pass protection? McNamara got hit a few times. He did get hit, and that's what we're talking about on some reps. The guy from Hawaii, whoever that defensive tackle was, who put that move on Zach Zinner and went in and got Cade McNamara, like the next series or the next time that Connor Jones, the freshman, was in at guard, he put that exact same move where he faked left and then went in. That's a really nice move. Now, it doesn't give everybody a free pass. You don't want defensive ends coming in and getting clear shots and pulverizing your quarterback. True enough, but I think people are going overboard. Your quarterback does get hit. Your quarterback does get sacked, even in the non-conference. I mean, that's the one thing about, sorry, Adrian, who didn't want to hear any more about the non-conference. Even if you're playing the 3 worst teams in football, a guy can rise up and make a play or two. A defensive line can have a nice series, even with the 3 worst teams in college football. Like, you wanted to line up and always run for 8 yards a crack, never have the quarterback touched, and win all these games by 80-0. I get it. And we have to have something. Am I sitting here saying, well, Michigan was perfect? They were pretty good. There's not a lot that, and I'm sitting here discussing the dislikes. Here's another one for you. Andrell Anthony had only 1 catch for 5 yards in 3 games. Is that a problem? That's something I wanted to see. I wanted to see Michigan get Anthony involved more. Now, Michigan's got a lot of good wide receivers. If it's a basketball game, the guys have to hit their average, or you want to get them some touches. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Anthony, I know he's a playmaker. I know they're going to utilize him. Why didn't they force feed him a little bit more? Because of the competition, because J.J. McCarthy looks like, and this happens with quarterbacks, if you watch enough football, they end up favoring a receiver. They like a tight end. They like a wideout. Clearly, J.J. McCarthy likes throwing the ball to Ronnie Bell. If Ronnie Bell gets out of his break and he feels like he's open, he throws it to him and he catches it. I mean, is it okay? Yeah, but I think that's one part of a dislike, that over the 3 games, 1 catch for 5 yards for Andrell Anthony. I didn't like that. And the other thing was just Cade McNamara getting hurt. And somebody asked me Saturday, why does it seem like the offensive line isn't blocking for Cade McNamara? And it did look like that. You go back to Hawaii, where he's getting ripped down to the ground. And then you go to Saturday, the last 2 plays of the half. Guy beats Trente Jones, comes out, plants him like a tulip in the ground. Next play, 2 guys come up the middle, smash him, and ends up knocking him out of the game. And who knows how long he's going to be out. I don't think that the linemen say, oh, here comes the backup. Let's play the Olay game like Lomas Brown did for Scott Mitchell, which he admitted, the Lions color analysts I didn't like Scott Mitchell. So I went ahead and told the defensive end, go ahead, knock our quarterback out. He doesn't get enough grief for doing that. What a great teammate. I don't think that any of the Michigan offensive linemen are doing that. I think that it could be coming down to Cade being more of not having the mobility to move around in the pocket, which helps you get away from those defenders. And sometimes you are going to take big hits. Cade, for all that you want to talk about, well, he doesn't move around, and that's why he ended up getting nailed. That was a hell standing in, keeping your head up and downfield, and then delivering the ball and then taking a hit. That's part of being a good quarterback. Unfortunately, he ended up getting hurt. That happens in football. I don't think the team. People want to know why is Cade getting a lot more pressure. I think it's because he doesn't have the movement of McCarthy, and the other part is that he stood in there and delivered the football like you're supposed to when you're a QB. Those are the things that I am looking at. Let's take some more feedback from the people. Antoine says Maryland was terrible last year, and they really didn't get any better, except for maybe another offensive weapon. They got shut down Michigan by last year, not to mention their defense got worse. SMU almost beat them. Yeah. There was some talk in the offseason. I was going to say there's some talk right now. Of course there's some talk right now. Maryland's up. And I think if you want to worry yourself, you say, well, Michigan, they haven't done anything in these, sorry again, Adrian, for these, the super soft non-conference schedule. And now all of a sudden they're going to step up and have to play Maryland. This is going to be a big deal for them. That could be one. Hey, did you see Talia's older brother? He threw for 6 touchdowns. Oh my God. Maybe Talia is going to do that to Michigan. All right. Those two things really don't have anything to do with each other. If Michigan's up 35-14, like the Ravens were on the Dolphins, I think maybe Clinksdale comes up, to the secondary and says, we're not done here. Tua was down 35-14 on Sunday. This is his brother. We got to play to the end. No letting up. Maybe he uses that as an example. To me, if you want to worry, and I'm not worried, I think Antoine is correct. What you saw, Maryland's got a pretty good offense, a pretty good running back. They got some good wide receivers, and they could put up some points. So can Michigan. And Maryland's defense, they don't look like they have. It looks like it's an option to play defense. They're not a very good defense. I do think it's going to be a higher scoring game, but I think Michigan's going to win, and I'm not all that worried about it. This will, you can see what Michigan can do with their pass rush. We'll see about these corners and just and the defensive backs overall, what they look like. But I'm ready for it. I think you should be too. If there's one thing that you want to get worked up about, is having a gunslinger quarterback that gets hot. And I don't think he's a great quarterback, talking about Tagovailoa. He's put up great numbers. I think a lot of the hype around him has to do with him being Tua's younger brother. But he does possess, I've seen quarterbacks who throw a lot and want to, obviously he wants to go to the NFL. He's the dangerous. There's one guy, and of course, he's thrown to the receivers and they got a good running back. But he's the guy. Can Michigan make him uncomfortable with their pressure? That's the key to the game. Can Michigan get to Tagovailoa and pressure him and knock him down and sack him? That's the key to the game. If they do that, and from what I've seen in these 3 games, they've got the horses that should be able to do that. That's why I'm not worried about this game. That's why I think Michigan's going to score close to 50 points. And I think they can keep Maryland under 30. Is it 50-30, an easy first guess score? Something like that. That's what I'm looking at. And, I didn't see this, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to believe me, because Steven says, what if it's 52-21 over Maryland? Steven, I could very easily see something like that. What if it is? I think it's going to be something around like that, you know? When are we going to know the Iowa time? I think that, well, here's the captain talking about the clock on the Iowa website was, because they're an hour behind, so maybe it's nonsense. Look, Iowa is playing 2 night games prior to Michigan, so that would be a 3rd night game. Maybe it ends up being like that. I'm not going to get worked up. If you want to get worked up about it, you can. There's a few points that we've just talked about that look like that game's going to be at noon. Okay, so that's how it feels. That's how it looks. That's what's up. The captain says if Michigan beats Maryland 52-21, and if Michigan beats Iowa 28-3, then I think we'll win 10.5 games, 10.5 to 1.5 more games. I don't know. He's waiting to see. I'm all right with the captain waiting to see these next 2 games before he proclaims Michigan a legit team. Captain, I think there's a lot of people outside of Michigan that are going to think exactly like you. They're going to say, let's wait to see. There's a lot of people that say, let's wait to see Michigan play a top 25 team. Let's certainly wait to see what Michigan does on the road before you start stamping them in and making your college football playoff plans. I think that's very fair. It doesn't mean that you're trolling the Wolverines. That you're going to wait and see a couple games before you think that's fine. I don't even think that. I don't even know if that's being pessimistic. I think that's being realistic. Now, however, I'm fine with that. Myself, however you want to take it, a game at a time, 2 games at a time, the entire season. Like Michigan looks pretty good to me. I thought they were going to be pretty good this year. From what I've seen in the first 3 games, I haven't changed that opinion. Actually, I feel better. They've got their quarterback situation resolved. There's nothing really. I'm not down on the offensive line or the receivers. If anything, I'm more bullish on Michigan because of what I've seen. I heard so much about this defender and that defender, and I was kind of like, all right, everybody's doing great. Everybody's wonderful. But I've actually seen what the coaches are talking about. I see why they like Derek Moore as a true freshman. We've seen these guys. The Braden McGregor looks pretty good. Looks like he can figure in. I was a little bit worried in the offseason when I heard Jesse Minter talking about, replacing Hutchinson and Ajabo, and he started talking about scheme. And I was like, ooh. And a red flag should go up when you hear coaches saying we're going to scheme it up. Usually that translates to we don't really have the horses, so we're going to have to scheme it up. But I think in this case, them scheming it up, that they're doing it with like 6-7 players. That's how they're replacing the impact of the Ajabo, Hutchinson, TFL, and sack train from last year. I am buying that after what I have seen through these first 3 games. And yeah, it is difficult for people. And it's been difficult for myself being able to look at these games and say, all right, what does it really mean? Because of who they are playing. And again, we talked about this heading into the non-conference slate, that you're going to get people that immediately dismiss everything. And you understand them. But if I didn't watch any of the Michigan games, they're playing 3 cupcakes. It's meaningless. Okay, well, let's just move on from you. The other part, and you see a lot of the Michigan fans on Twitter, it's fun, but the ones that are like, McCarthy's going to win the Heisman, and this team's not going to be able to be stopped, all those kind of things. It's also kind of like, okay, let's just wait. There's no problem with being excited about everything, But then what are you really dealing with? And what did you really watch? And again, different reps, that play from McCarthy that I saw that we put up here, him throwing the ball, him eating the ball in a situation. Now, those things, to me, you could take a little bit from a rep from a player, that you can see some of these guys flashing, in particular guys that you haven't seen really before play. Braden McGregor would be one. Moore would be the other. I'm sorry. I know he doesn't like to go by Anoma anymore. I'll fix that. But number 18 for the Wolverines, whatever you want to call him, he looks like he can. Looks like he can rush the quarterback. I like Sandberstone. I didn't know that. I think that he's a big time asset as a slot corner. He looks like a pretty good defender. Doesn't look out of position at all. He looks like an asset. I think Rod Moore is an underrated safety. Guy's good. You watch him play. Everything that you're looking for from a safety, he looks like he can do. And I like the other two guys too. 6 and 7, Moten and Page. If you watch this and we go through and you're like, wow, you like that guy, you like this guy, you like this unit. I like Michigan this year. I don't think there's a reason like that I should be tapping the brakes or, talking down on him or, and I appreciate, the captain wanting to take a wait and see approach. I'm not out here, running with the Michigan flag like Charles Woodson will be this Saturday when he joins, the Fox crew for the Michigan-Maryland game. But Michigan's a pretty good team. They got a really good offense, and they got some good potential on defense. And as we have talked about, and I'll say it now for the 1,007th time, they have one of the most perfect schedules that you could ever line up. Say what you want about the non-conference, and then say what you want how this thing sets up for them in the Big Ten. At Iowa, at Indiana, at Rutgers. That's not a house of horrors. Going up to Piscataway. Ooh, sure. Rutgers gave him fits last year. I mean, like all of that. Rolling into, Bloomington. Michigan fans, and this, Michigan brings more of a, it's like when the Rams are playing right now. Indiana will have to go on a silent count. There'll be so many Michigan fans that'll go down to Bloomington. That's the easiest place to play in the Big Ten. And Rutgers might be right behind them. I know their basketball court is tough. They're the basketball team has a good home court advantage, but I've never heard anybody, say anything about, going to Piscataway and how tough it is to play there. That's two of the games. Where the other one's Iowa. That's why people are so, nervous about it being at night. Because the last time in 2016 that Michigan was, 8-9-0, they went down there in Iowa. They looked like garbage, and, the Hawkeyes beat them. And Iowa's had a lot of success. Michigan has been a long time. Fun fact, I was at the last Michigan game that they won at Iowa. It was my first trip to Iowa City. I took an RV, stayed out on the golf course. It was a great tailgate out there. Remember, I walked. I think a bunch of Michigan fans that set up at the tailgate. Maybe they do certain things like that. I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know what the particulars were. It was a great tailgate that I went to. But what I remember, I sat in the end zone, right on the grass. I think that Michigan coach Ron Bellamy had a nice game against the Hawkeyes there. That doesn't matter. But that would have been around 2004 or 5? That I was, I'd have to, well, you know what, I can. I've got the book. Let's do it. I'm going to say 2005, like I just did. It could be 4, but I'm going to say 5. The last time Michigan won in Iowa. If you know automatically, then you're doing pretty good. 2005, let's see. Michigan, Iowa. What did I say? 2005? Let's go. Michigan won at Iowa. Neither team was ranked. 23-20 away. I didn't know it was that close. I don't remember it being in overtime. But there it is. Not too bad. Jason Avant and Pat Massey were the Michigan captains. I'd have to see if Ron Bellamy was on that team or not. All right. We'll take some more of your feedback. We've got a couple more minutes to do that. Let's see. The punters want some love for the special teams performance. All right, punters, I'll do it. There was a time a few years ago when Jay Harbaugh was on Michigan staff, and I was on the radio, and somebody called in and said, Jim Harbaugh, this nepotism needs to stop. Who else is he going to hire? His cousin? Hiring his son? Why don't you call him out for that? And I didn't have a good answer. I thought, well, he's just, I don't know. Let's give him a chance. I don't remember what I said. But the very next caller called in and said, hey, Jay Harbaugh, since the time that he could understand how to walk, has been watching tape, has been in playbooks, in game plans, has been right there with his dad. This guy was arguing that there was nobody out there up to whatever Jay Harbaugh's age was at that point that had more experience for the job, more practical experience and hands-on experience than Jay Harbaugh at Michigan. He said the charge of nepotism was way out of left field. And I sat there and thought, this guy knows what he's talking about. And did it help Jay Harbaugh having the last name Harbaugh that his first job was with the Ravens and his and with his uncle John? Hey, he got hooked up, with the Ravens. You could have said that was nepotism, but I don't know. Is it, he was able to get a job with his uncle? But Jay Harbaugh, there was a year, and he might have been the running backs coach there, and people were like, running backs aren't doing so hot. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's not the best running back coach, but Jay Harbaugh is a good coach. And he's a good special teams coach. Michigan had the best special teams in the country last year, and they look like they have the best special teams in the country. They don't make mistakes. You think about LSU losing the game because of protection issues on field goals and extra points. They lost the game. Michigan hasn't had any issues like that. Then they had a punt block with Colasar, and then they had the punt return for a touchdown. And Brad Robbins, a dude with the sweet mustache and the cool hairdo, pinning the ball inside the 10, inside the 5. He's pretty good at that. He's got a stick of dynamite in his leg. And then Jake Moody, the Lou Groza Award winner of the punters, he tried it at the half, or right before the half, from 62 yards. That ball, the guy caught it on, it was going to be dead center in the middle. It was just short. If that goalpost hangs right over the back of the end zone, that dude caught it towards the back. So it might have been, I'll say that the most that ball was 3 yards. I don't know, 4 yards, we want to say. What if it was even 5 yards? It was a 62-yarder. So we're saying that he's good from 57? Would I feel good? Bring in Moody out for a 55-yarder, 56-yarder, 57-yarder? I would. I don't know about good. I'd feel like he's got a, hey, he had it straight on against UConn and just ended up a few yards short. But yeah, great job at the special teams. And you usually don't talk about the special teams unless it's kind of like the long snapper or holder. You don't usually mention those guys until they blank it up. Oh, special teams. Special teams is great. They do a nice job. And Jay Harbaugh is a heck of a coach. Okay, let's take some more feedback. And here's the captain, who's been a very skeptical, pessimistic type of Michigan fan today. But he says A.J. Henning needs a full-time position on offense, not just a random gadget. Well, Captain, a random gadget, they're going to give him the ball at least once on an end around. The way Michigan is throwing the ball in these, whether they're smoke screens, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, quick hitters out to the wide receivers. We see Roman Wilson. I like to throw the ball out a few times to Roman Wilson. That will be my game plan this week against Maryland. Let's see Roman Wilson coming down the line, 14, boom. Would I also do that with A.J. Henning? Yes. Would I give it to him a few times on an end around? At least once. Would I, find him on one of those smoke screens? Okay. This gets back to, you want Henning on a few of those. You want Wilson on a few of those. Ronnie Bell's all over the place. You can throw him the ball. They got two really good tight ends. I don't know, how much have they used Eric All? I want more from Andrell Anthony. More than one catch in 3 games. Who else do I want to see? I mean, they got a lot of wide receivers. Kojo down in the red zone. I want to see A.J. Henning getting the ball in the backfield. I saw it on Saturday. I'm pretty encouraged about that. This is a good problem to have. Complaining about getting guys looks or targets or snaps is, again, that's something, those are good things to argue about. Get this guy going. Okay. Brano likes Gash, runs hard. Yeah, I liked what I saw from him too. I was watching a little Gash earlier today. I was watching as I mentioned, second, third, and fourth quarter. Steven thinks that Michigan's going to put up 50. Captain's now talking about putting 50. He's coming around. He's pessimistic now. He's talking about putting up a 50. Anything over 50, you can use the word burger, Captain. Michigan might put up a 53 burger. A double nickel on Maryland. Maybe I should. I don't feel like this is a trap game. I don't feel like Michigan's looking ahead to Iowa. I don't feel like, Michigan's overlooking Maryland. I feel like, there's some things that we could sit here and say, what don't you like about Harbaugh? Maybe we'll have a show like that one day. What I do like about Harbaugh, he's pretty good at getting his guys ready for the next game. A pretty good coach. Stuff I probably don't like about him, if I had to think about it really quick, would be some of the off-the-field stuff and some of the things that he does. When it comes to game day and preparation, what's not to like about Jim Harbaugh? Again, I say it again, that he's a pretty good coach. I think people think so. Let's see. Adrian is saying that it's now official. Iowa is at noon. Well, let's see how. I've got a news alert that Amani Bates, the former Michigan target who went to Eastern Michigan, is in jail, arrested for a firearm. Amani Bates said he was driving, his lawyer said he was driving somebody else's car that had not only an unregistered firearm in it, but one that his ID had been altered. That's not good for EMU. I'm not really sure what's, sometimes I look at the question, here's somebody else saying it's officially at noon. I'm going to check that for you guys. Not that I don't believe anybody, or now that we have 2 people saying it's officially at noon, but I like to go ahead and double check everyone. I don't see it there. Let me go ahead and check one other place. Where are you guys seeing that at? Is it on ESPN? I'm going to type in Michigan. I got to spell it right. On Twitter, you got to spell things right or you're not going to get it. Michigan football. That's good. How about Michigan, Iowa? There it is. Michigan, Iowa, noon. It even says right in the description. Michigan at Iowa, officially at noon. Michigan at Iowa is a noon kickoff next Saturday. Michigan at Iowa is set for noon Eastern. Breaking kickoff for the Michigan Iowa game announced. Kickoff. You're right. And it looks like it happened. I should have had that an hour ago. You're right. It's noon. Let's rejoice. That's good. Good news for Michigan. What's up, James? Where you been, man? All right. The captain talking about 3 losses again on the feedback. We've been down your road, captain. It's great, that you have your opinion and you're going to wait and see these next 2 games. That's fine, but talking about Michigan losing 3 games here today is not something that I'm considering. Nothing against you. Here's a Blue Dove on the feedback. He says he thinks Cade's lack of mobility makes him a target for the defense. They know he's unlikely to run. I think you're right about that. I think that could play into it. And I think that's going to be it. Otis wants to talk about the playoffs. Yeah, I know. I will. We're going to talk about 3 losses. I'm going to talk about playoffs. And Jim Mora, it's not Junior because I think they have different middle names, but the late Jim Mora's son who was coaching against UConn, he said he thought Michigan could go to the playoffs. I'll tell you, if I was down there, now Mora, wasn't he, chewing out one of his players? In the post game, probably wouldn't have been the best time to set him up where you say, Coach, you talking about playoffs? Now, if you were talking to him during the week, you could ask him about that. I'm sure he's been asked a bunch of times about that. Maybe he would jump off and give you a playoffs. I saw him running up and down. They had the tape, him running up and down the Michigan steps. That looked like something pretty good to do. Okay. 2 more we'll take on the feedback. James says, did some people forget we only lost to Maryland once since they joined the Big Ten? Plus, Harbaugh is undefeated versus Maryland. Just that alone removes all my worries. 59-21. Wow. What did I say? 50-30? I mean, that was my first. That's not my official prediction. That's what I'm thinking. 50-30. Say 30, you get to 27, 30. 30 sounds like a nice number to me. Michigan, 50. 48. How about 51? 51-30. That's what I'm feeling. That was the first thing that popped into my head. 51-30. 30 too much? Yeah. That'll give you a little bit like, this defense gave up some touchdowns. You'd rather have it single digits? 51-9? How does that sound? A little bit better? Everybody telling me that I was at noon now. Noon. Yeah, wherever you saw it for. Let's see. That's it. People throwing their scores up. Here's a 53-14. It looks like I'm giving Maryland too much credit, getting to 30 points. The account, yeah, he's not feeling 30 either. 52-17. Maybe people should put some money down. It's only 17 point spread. I have them covering. Wait, 50 to 30. That's covering the 17. The captain says dominating Penn State would be incredible. It would really give our guys confidence. Yeah. Hey, I think all of the games, I think they've got really good confidence, but I think that if they go out and harass Tagovailoa and come up with some turnovers, it doesn't have to be like last year's game. What was last year? 59-18. It doesn't have to be 59-18, but if Michigan wins and they harass Tagovailoa, that's going to give them a lot of confidence in their secondary, in their pass rush. If they go and then make their first road trip of the year to Iowa, that gives you a little confidence that you can go away from the friendly confines of the big house and play against a good defense and beat a team like Iowa that a lot of the pundits, myself included, had Michigan's down as Michigan's second hardest game. I don't believe that anymore. I think Penn State is going to be Michigan's second hardest game, but winning on the road against Iowa, that'll give them confidence. They got to go back-to-back road games. Being able to do that, go to Iowa and Indiana, so they'll be after this week 4-0, Iowa 5-0. They go to Indiana 6-0, and then Penn State. Resounding victory over Penn State will give them confidence, and they'll be 7-0 going into a bye, getting ready for Michigan State. Yeah, I'll say they'll be pretty confident at 7-0, at least the number 4 team in the country. Going into a bye week, what are we going to be sitting around 7-0? Michigan beats Penn State. Michigan State on tap. In the way Michigan State's pass defense looks, is Michigan going to score 60 points on Michigan State this year? 50 points? I got to be careful when it comes to rivalry games and when it comes to Michigan State. Normally, I like to stay even keel. I like to be like, let's give everybody credit. Let's be reasonable. When it gets to Michigan State, a lot of that goes out the window. But I should learn, because the year of the pandemic, it wasn't too long ago, I had picked Michigan to win that game. Was it 55-0? I still have the score written down. Maybe it's right here. No, that's not it. I saved it. I had put it on my hat for Halloween. And then I got made fun of. But it was a big score, and as you know, it didn't turn out that way. Okay. That's it. Don't get too hyped up about going 7-0 right now. Heading into the bye. But it's it. This is going to be my final thought for you all today. I'm older now. I've been through some of these Michigan seasons. I've been down there. I've had a little of the experience. This looks like a good team. I know the non-conference that we're all, tired of talking about, but now it's on to the Big Ten. And a couple of years ago, when Michigan brought in Hunter Dickinson and I watched him in the non-conference, and I watched him dominating the opponents, people kept saying, but he's not doing it against anybody. I said, I can't wait till Hunter Dickinson goes up against Big Ten players or big men. This guy's awesome. He was awesome. I have that same feeling about this Michigan football team. I'm looking forward to them going against Tagovailoa, going on the road. Am I looking forward to Penn State coming in? Because that feels like it's going to be the showdown. I am looking forward to that. I'm not ready to, talk about Michigan's run defense, this run wall that Harbaugh, he likes calling it a run wall now, which I like. It resonates with me. Put up a wall. A brick wall. Don't let those guys run through it. They smash right into it. My advice, and you can take these games and do anything you want with them. But man, this season, after last season and where you're sitting right now, it's a pretty good spot. Michigan football, I can't remember a better spot than they've been in right now with their football program. They've got the coach. They've got the quarterback. They've got an explosive offense. They've got a defense. I don't know. I'm pretty encouraged about the defense. They've got a team in all three phases. The punter, making sure that we remember the special teams. Well, you can lose on special teams. You're damn right. You're going to need your special teams. This is a good team with a great schedule. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. We'll be here every day talking about it all the way through, documenting it, taking your feedback. And that's how we're going to roll. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock until